Good afternoon. Today is the 11th of October 2025, which marks 3 years since I moved abroad, left my job, and pretty much bought a one-way ticket out of my home country, Australia. And I thought, what better way than to vlog, have a little bit of a time capsule, a bit of a discussion of what it's like to do this, what it's been like the last 3 years. And yeah, so spend the day with me and let's get right into it.
Thought I could run away. Smile and you wanna stay. Come with me, we can make a way.
All right, I'm just having some banh kung at a local vendor. Just took a walk around. So I actually moved to District 3 just yesterday. So it's a new area to me. But anyway, let's eat banh kung. Yum. You can never go wrong with banh kung, seriously. And back home, like in Australia, you can't get banh kung fresh. So I really started to appreciate banh kung so much since moving to Vietnam. But yeah, so pretty much if we're gonna recap, let's go back to the very beginning. So 2022 October is when I moved, and prior to that I had always wanted to kind of travel around. Actually, my idea was that I actually wanted to go to the UK and find a HR job. So I was in HR in Australia, and I wanted to kind of go to UK, find a HR job with the intention of traveling around Europe when I could. But around that time, I guess this is like post-COVID, right? I had met my partner at the time, and we really enjoyed Asian countries, and it made sense, right, to go to Asian countries because it is more affordable. And so initially my timestamp or my timeline was the end of 2023, so December 2023. But because we moved the deadline up earlier, so a whole year and 2 months earlier, it made sense to go to Vietnam, which is, we're both Vietnamese background. And then the cost of living is more affordable here. So that's exactly what we did. And honestly, it was so spontaneous because by the time that we had decided, there was like 6 weeks to go. I put in my resignation and I gave even 6 weeks. So pretty much worked right up until the week that we were leaving. So I believe it was a Wednesday we flew out, and I worked until the Friday before. So intense. And then we had like going away party and things like that. And then, can you imagine like the look on my parents' face when I told them that I was moving to Vietnam? Because for them it was like, well, we fled to give you a better life, and now you're going back. Like, that sounds absurd, right? But lucky I had my brother, and he was like, you know what, just do it. Like, kind of YOLO, and if it doesn't work out, you can always come back. So yeah, it was super spontaneous. Like, prior to this, anytime that I had traveled, I would have like a full-on kind of like itinerary of like what I was doing every day. And people that I've traveled with have actually been like, yo, Kim, like, that's actually so like anal and very annoying. Like, you need to stop doing that. So for me, this was such a big jump of like, so we didn't know what's going on, what we were planning to do while we're in Vietnam. And so that's what happened, October 2022. And I remember getting the passport and having to get it fast-tracked because at the time, everyone was starting to travel because the borders were opening up, worldwide. So to get a passport was taking about 6 weeks, so I had to get it fast-tracked to make sure that I could get it on time. It's so wild to think back, like, leaving at that time, I didn't know how long I was going to be gone for, what was going to unfold, right? Here I am now, 3 years later, and I'm single now. I am traveling solo, which is not something that I would have anticipated 3 years ago if you asked me. So a lot has definitely changed. And I remember back then flying over with so many things. And then also Bamboo Airlines just kind of started to branch out in Australia. So they were doing Melbourne to Ho Chi Minh City flights and giving people like 45 kilos. So it was super handy and it was super affordable, the flights. They're no longer running that airline. I believe it's fully shut down. And I still remember the first day. The first day I ate banh uk, similar to banh kung, but doesn't have the filling. And banh uk is more like just sheets where this is like rolled. And then staying at an Airbnb to then look at apartments, to then move in to sign a contract for, ideally we said 6 months, but it ended up being 1 year. So lived in Tao Ding, District 2 for the first 6 months. Realised that it was great to start off there. October is the hardest period to kind of get housing in Ho Chi Minh, or I think all of Vietnam, because schooling resumes. So a lot of university students are also looking for housing. All the expat teachers do return, so they're also looking for apartments. So you can't negotiate. You still can negotiate, but not as much as other kind of months or seasons. So I remember we just kind of looked at a few and then signed, right? And living in District 2 was awesome to start off with. It's kind of like the expat area of Ho Chi Minh City. But after 6 months, just kind of eating the same foods, it's not as affordable. there's less kind of street vendors because it is more of a touristy area. So then decided to move out, and at the time that was a studio apartment, so there wasn't much space. So we moved over to District 7, which is pretty far out. It's kind of like a green area. A lot of Korean investors come over to work and they'll stay there, bring their family with them. Lots of international schools as well. And that was also, it was like a 2-bedroom apartment. We had like a gym, a pool, a karaoke room, a cinema room. So lots of good space, but the only thing was it was a little bit further away. You know, I wonder if I went to Europe, if I went to the UK, hypothetically if I did get that HR job, like where would I be right now? Maybe I would be traveling lots of Europe by now, which would have been awesome, but I wouldn't have been like where I am now with, I don't know, I just feel like Vietnam kind of feels like home now, of course. And I'm just so comfortable. Like, honestly, as of now, I can't really see myself going back to Australia. If I did, it would be like kind of for a visit, but I'm just so used to like the low cost of living here, how chaotic it is. Like, I feel like I would feel a little bit lonely, or it would just be too quiet if I went back home to Melbourne, Australia. Like, we live in the suburbs, so it's not as lively. You know, in Western countries, a lot of things close quite early. Here in Asia, everything's open late. Everyone goes out, and while people are worried about money and such, they still find time to like really enjoy themselves. And I think that's one aspect that really makes me grateful. And yeah, have a sense of like happiness for my own life too, because I just feel like, yeah, like everyone's going through something, but to make the most out of it, that's brilliant, honestly. So the first year would have traveled to Korea, Japan, Bali, Malaysia, and I believe that's it. And then we had like a domestic trip as well. All right, so on to the second year. I just got a Rau Ma drink, which is like a penny worth, because it's so hot, so it's gonna cool me down. Second and third year, I'm kind of gonna go to them because I'm gonna go over it together because they kind of overlap. Second year, I believe I went to some of the countries that I mentioned, like Malaysia and Bali. Then also moved over to District 7 because we broke the lease in District 2. Felt like studio was no room to kind of have our personal space. So we just found someone to take over the lease and then moved over to District 7. We also had a lot of family come over, so my family as well as my partner's family at the time, my partner at the time. And so a lot of times was kind of getting the YouTube videos in order, so editing them and filming them before family would come over and friends, so that we could spend time with them uninterrupted whilst they were here. So a lot of families would come. And then we also embarked on our south to north Vietnam trip. So starting in Saigon, we went in May 2025, which lasted all the way up into December. So the trip went longer than we expected, so we did a visa run. We pretty much stopped at every location or every main city. So Phang Thi, Dalat, Quy Nhon, lots of places I didn't even know existed, and it was awesome. Central food is amazing, and I had newfound appreciation for it. Different kinds of dishes in Vietnam that I was exposed to, and just how different places are. Sometimes the spelling, sometimes the pronunciation is also different. So sometimes I didn't even feel like they could understand my Vietnamese or I could understand them. And I think that was actually really exciting, and I was loving it. We pretty much packed up a few of our belongings, so like a carry-on suitcase and kind of like a hiking bag, as well as 2 backpacks which had our like laptops and such in there, and pretty much roped it onto the bike. We changed from a lead over to another bike, and then pretty much so it could be stronger, and then pretty much installed like the back railing thing so we could put the stuff on top, and then just embarked. So from May all the way to December, and because our visa was running out, we also did apply for a visa while we were in Da Nang, and then we also got hit by a typhoon, but luckily by the time we hit Da Nang, it was very, very minor, thankfully. But it was interesting to see people would put like bags of water on top of their roof just to make sure that they could hold down the fort. And you know, that was my first kind of encounter. And honestly, this motorbike kind of tour was something that I've never thought that I would do, right? It's wild because I can't ride. And pretty much did a visa run over to Laos. So from Hue, did like a 2.5 bike ride out of Vietnam over to Laos, pretty much like this small town in Laos. managed to bring the Vietnamese bike over, no issues, no paperwork was needed to be done. It was very interesting because we thought maybe we need to bribe, maybe we need to fill out paperwork, but it was pretty straightforward. And stayed there for about 2 nights and then headed back over, continued on the trip. And once we got to Hanoi, we were planning to go further up, so kind of like Sapa and Hai Giang Loop and all that, but we just kind of got really tired at that stage, and that's when things really fell apart. I mean, like, things were already falling apart throughout the last 2 years that we had been traveling, and I guess living abroad together or traveling with someone is when you really see if it's make or break it. And I guess I'm not entirely sure, but I'm gonna kind of speak and say that I believe for him it wasn't exactly what he thought it was going to be like. For me, I still loved it. Kind of think of it. So there was many problems, but let me just summarize this one issue that I think sits on the back of my mind a lot, is that I think it's like, have you ever been to a location where you're very excited and you want to talk to locals and you want to make friends and you want to know more information, or you want to go exploring, walk around and kind of just look at the alleyways and things like that, or even if just say you're at like a museum and you just want to, you're enjoying it, you're vibing it, or you're looking at a beautiful view, but you can tell the person you're with is not really there, not really interested, right? So it kind of almost feels like you're rushed for time and you just don't really appreciate it as much. And then, so the breakup was pretty sudden, but I think it was already there for quite some time. So we broke up in Hanoi, and that's when luckily around that time, my brother was coming to Vietnam, and actually at the time he was planning to surprise me, him and his girlfriend. But because of the breakup, he had to tell me like, hey, I'm actually coming. So, I need to stay in Hanoi, which is exactly what I did. He came like 2 or 3 weeks after the breakup. So it was pretty perfect timing. And they actually surprised me by bringing my dad along. So that was the one surprise. I was like, what the hell? And honestly, for that entire trip, I was pretty loopy. I was very out of it. It was just a really tough time, right? I was a little bit like, what should I do? Like, a big part of me was reflecting in terms of, do I go back home to Australia and restart? Or do I continue traveling? If I do, am I going to be here in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City? Or what am I going to do, right? Travel to another country, maybe like Thailand. So I was in Hanoi, which I have never been. That was my first time ever. And I ended up staying for, I think, 2 months all in all. Then as my family came, the end of their trip was back in Saigon. So we came back here, and after they left, I was reflecting on what should I do. I was journaling a lot, trying to find other ways to assist with like my mental health, because I was kind of stuck at a crossroads in terms of what should I do, what do I want to do. And I decided I'm going to start my own YouTube channel. And it's funny to say because, before moving over to Vietnam and before leaving Australia, never in my wildest dreams would I think that I would be a YouTuber. I don't even say that I'm a YouTuber. This is like the first time I said it on camera. People will introduce me as a YouTuber and will kind of be like, whoa, like I just make videos for fun, or like I'm a content creator, right? And it kind of gives me like a little bit of an ick, if I'm being completely honest. I'm like, oh no, people are seeing me as an influencer, when honestly I never thought that this is what I would be doing. It's so interesting to say that, when we started the channel, me and my partner at the time, so we had another channel when we moved over, I was so nervous. I didn't know what to say. I was super awkward. I didn't really watch much YouTube travel vlogs at all to even know what to be doing. Then as it progressed on, the channel progressed, I started to really enjoy it. I felt like I got out of my comfort zone. I became more confident in myself. I like talking about certain things because it makes me also reflect on what has actually happened, and I enjoy that aspect of putting myself out there. And so I decided I'm going to start my own YouTube channel, and I did that in February of this year, so February 2025. I stayed in Saigon, signed a contract for 3 months living in District 1, and that 3 months was to really reset and work out what am I going to do thereafter, right? Do I want to stay in Saigon and get a feel for it? Because I have never really traveled internationally by myself ever. So this was like throwing myself into the deep end, honestly. So I went to social events, made friends, found some volunteer work. And then after 3 months, I decided, hey, let's go travel. Let's get out of Vietnam and go see more of Southeast Asia by myself, because I am very familiar with Vietnam. So it didn't really feel like I was solo traveling, whilst there was a big change, of course. So then I decided, let's go to Thailand for the 2 months, because that's how long my visa allows me. And from there, work it out. So other options was Indonesia, as well as Malaysia. I did go to Malaysia, which was for 4 months. Initially, I was just going to pop by, but then I started to get really tired. I guess I was not used to solo travel, and I really needed to slow down. So in Malaysia, I stayed the full months, but because I went over to Singapore, when I got back to Malaysia, my visa reset. So in the first month I went to Singapore, hence why all in all was 4 months visa for Malaysia. Then after that I decided I really miss Vietnam, so here I am back. I came back last, not the Friday that just passed, but the week before, so a bit over a week. And it's crazy to think that yesterday I moved into an apartment in District 3. So far I lived in District 2, District 7, and then by myself District 1, and now District 3. And I don't know what's in store for me, honestly, but I am glad to be back. And I'm looking to do more volunteer work, find something more fulfilling to do, because I have been unemployed for 3 freaking years. And if I'm being honest, I didn't mind it, but now that I'm by myself and it's almost been 1 year of solo, I'm finding myself a bit bored. I want to do something that's more fulfilling, whether that's volunteer work. I do want to find some part-time job, maybe English teaching, to fill up my time and feel like that sense of a belonging and community, I guess, and just better routine. So I think that's what is crazy. Like, honestly, if you asked me many years ago what I thought I would be doing as of now, 2025, I honestly don't know. I probably would tell you that I would be in the same job. Or maybe I would have found a new company, right? But I would probably still be in HR, which I loved it, I enjoyed it, but this is something that I always wanted to tick off my list, and something that I think I need to, I don't know, I guess, I'm not too sure about you guys, but I kind of have like a small list of things that I want to do before I am like, okay, I'm ready to get into like 9 to 5, and I'm not going to complain ever again. Of course, I'm probably going to complain, but it's like getting it out of my system, really. So I'm enjoying it. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen here in year 4. Yeah, so that's pretty much my recap, and I'm honestly just like spending so much time reflecting. Even the last couple of weeks, since I know today was coming, I did notice that actually it's the 11th today. Actually, I moved on the 12th, so that's tomorrow. But nonetheless, the vlog is done. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for what I have. Honestly, the last year since the breakup has been the hardest year of my life, but honestly, it has been the best year of my life as well, because I've just been exposed to new environments, new challenges, and yeah, so many times I have just thought that I wasn't going to make it, but I have made it, and I'm still here, and I'm feeling really good, honestly, to be back here in Vietnam and kind of see what the next chapter is like. You know, I've just had newfound appreciation for my life and the people that are around me. I've made so many new friends last year, more than I have since, like, you know, high school, but high school is different, right? We're surrounded by people that are going through the same kind of wavelengths as us, because we're all doing the same schooling, right? It's kind of when you hit university that you kind of drift because everyone's doing their own new thing. But yeah, like, I made friends that I've known for one day, and you know, when I was moving apartments yesterday, they would call me and be like, hey, do you need a hand? Like, that's just how great people are, and that's just like the small things have made me really appreciate my life and what I have surrounded with me, around me. You know, if I call my parents and it's like 4 a.m. here, there's no doubt in my mind that they would not pick up. They would, like, they sleep with their phone on loud, and you know, I just feel so grateful for that. My brother's always there for me, always pushing me forward, telling me, you know, it sounds crazy, but just do it. And you know, he's probably not even on board with half the ideas, but it's just like, just do it, right? Why not? And that's the way that I am able to do what I've done and get to where I am, honestly. And oh, it's just so cool, right? So thankful. I'm feeling good, and I think I'm going to wrap up this vlog. 3 years tomorrow, and let's make sure these recaps happen yearly. And whatever life comes, I'm sure it's where I need to be. And one thing I wanted to conclude and say was that I know a lot of people come to Vietnam and they, without a doubt in their mind, like, I'm going to live here for the rest of my life. And so they do. They build a family here. They even sometimes get married to a local. Like, I'm never returning home. For me, that's not really the case. Like, I thought that I would be. I'm not really like, I love Vietnam so much that I would live here. I'm unsure if I would live here, you know, for the rest of my life. But I'm also like, the thought of going home to Australia, do I like that here? Not really too. So I guess I am where I need to be as is. And yeah, and that we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. That's a lie. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this little recap with me. Thank you for being here. Leave me a comment below. You know, what's the craziest thing that's happened to you that you thought, oh my gosh, like, this is what it is, right? Or whatever it is. Just leave me a comment below. And thank you so much for your support, guys. I will see you in the next one.
So sweet like a lemonade. Take time, we can give it a minute, mate. We can do something new, let me innovate. We can take it slow like we in a rain.